Hi. So what I'm doing today is the difference between two squares, and I'm looking particularly at two terms of the likes, like the ax squared or a squared plus x squared minus b squared y squared. Two terms. All right, so let's take a work example, for example, so you can see exactly what I mean. So first of all, this difference, there are only two terms. The 25x squared is a term on its own, and 64y squared z to the fourth is one term on its own, and they are separated by a minus there. That's why the difference is there, the word difference. And the numbers now must be square numbers, so I'll help you remember your square numbers as well. So please remember one is a square number, so sometimes you might get one, and then you forget that one is a square number. All right, and also the powers here, or the indices rather, the exponents, they must be even. They must be 2, 4, or 6, or 8. Okay, in order for us to do this particular question. All right, so I'm going to start off with that worked example, look at a few, and then I'm going to do some more complex ones, so to speak. So let's take that worked example here as we have. So if you don't know that 25 is square of 5, so you can do the reverse operation, that is the square root of 25, which is 5. Essentially 5 times 5 gives you 25, or x squared under the square root will just give you x, because the square root cancels with the square. All right, and also I'm going to introduce something called the split rule. So sometimes you get like a z to the 4 or a y to the 8 like here, and I need to have a square on the outside, so obviously 2 goes into 8 4 times, so you can split them, because remember the rule is when you have got this base raised to so many indices, you multiply them. So 12 here, b to the 12, split them by putting the 6 inside and the 2 outside. This is going to come in very handy. All right, so 5 squared is some other way of writing 25. X squared minus, that is 8 squared, y squared. Can you see that I have now split my z? So the ones in red is essentially what I'm going to sort of drop. So if I drop those ones in red, but before I do that, let me just write down what I have. So 5 squared x squared can be written like this. And everything here that has got squares because can also be written like this. So now I can actually drop those squares. So one is going to be 5x minus 8yz to the second power, or squared. So one bracket is going to be the conjugate of the other bracket. So what that actually means is that it's a reciprocal with another one. So it has, one is going to have a positive, one is going to have a negative. Okay, and that is how you get from two terms to one term. All right, I'm just going to bring in this example, and then you'll see that I have something like x minus 3 all squared. So this whole business is squared. Minus is here, and 4 is 2 squared. Can you see now I have my squares here? I drop them. So one is going to be x minus 3 plus 2 in one bracket, and the other one is going to be x minus 3 minus 2. Well, if you remove the brackets inside, these things, they still clean up to x minus 1 and also clean up to x minus 5. So suppose you are doing vertex form, which is something you're going to learn also a little bit. You can have a look at my few videos that I have done, and you're supposed to write it into standard form, or you're supposed to solve the equation as it is. You can also do this, suppose if that is a square number, of course. All right, another one here. Well, you have to be a bit careful with this one here. So you see that the y to the power 4, well, I split it with y squared. Can you see that? And then a 4 obviously is going to be 4 squared gives you 16, and square root of 81 is 9. 9 squared is 81. So, okay, so you then take everything inside the bracket with a plus, everything with a minus. But what you realize here, this part, there is still difference of two squares. So 4 is a square of 2, y square y, and 9 is a square of 3. So this part can further be factorized to 2y plus 3 and 2y minus 3. Of course, you must keep on bringing down the other one. So the order that I'm going to write most of my answers is going to be probably going to start off with 2y minus 3, 2y plus 3, and then 4y squared plus 9. So it doesn't matter as long as you factorize from two terms to one term, and that is all that matters. Okay, so let's go directly. I'm bringing in a few questions where I want you to evaluate, and ultimately I'll say do this ones without a calculator. It's very easy. You don't have to go and say 81 square, punch that stuff on your calculator. No, that's not what I'm looking for. So you use 81 minus 80, because you drop those squares, and 81 plus 80. Guess what? 81 minus 80 is 1, and that is 161. 1 times 161 gives you 161. Maybe you can pause the video to do this too quickly. I hope you got to the same answer. is negative 10,900. Okay, so I'm bringing another one here. You can pause, and then you can try to do this as well. So what you're going to say is 5.24 minus 4.76 and 5.24 plus 4.76. The nice thing is one of them is going to give you 10. Okay, and anything times 10, so 0.48 times 10 is just going to be 4.8. One more. So 102 square minus 100 square, so it must be 102 minus 100, which is 2, and 102 plus 100, which is, you got that, 202. So 2 times 202, 404. So this is one way of doing a very quick multiplication when it comes, or subtraction of squares. Okay, because you see there I've got squares, and it's one way you can do that very quickly. Okay, so let's bring in, or before we do that, there's something I like to point out. A lot of students tend to make this mistake. So when you have something like 2x squared, it's only the square is only for the x. Please remember that. When it's 2x in bracket, it means that whole 2x must be squared. Okay, so it's 2 squared and x squared as well. All right, so we have got 9a to the 6 minus b to the 8th power. Again, I split. I know that 9 is 3 squared, and that is a cubed, and then I have my 2 there, right? 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 2 goes there 4 times. So everything in red comes in the bracket and with the different signs. Okay, and that should do it. This is still subtraction. This is still even, but this one is not even, and this 3 is also not a square number. Then you have 16x squared minus y squared over 100. 100 can be written as 10 times 10, 10 squared. And 16, 4 is the square of 16. Okay, so now you can drop and have 4x. Okay, now here the nice thing is when you have y squared over 10 squared, that is actually, the square is actually for the numerator as well as the denominator. And then you just write 4x minus y over 10 and 4x plus y over 10. All right, so we have got y to the 4th power. So 1 is 1, whether you raise it to the power of 4 to the power of 2. So you must remember it's a square number here. So I will split that one here. And I just wrote y, 1 is a square number, because you know that 1 square is 1. Splitting this, now the ones in red comes in the own bracket, y square minus 1, and then y square plus 1. But here's the thing, this one can still be factorized further, because 1 is a square and y square is a square. So y minus 1, y plus 1, that is going to be that, and write the other one down. And those are the answers. Those 3 brackets are the answers to this particular question. Right, so let's look at ones where you need to take out the common factor first. So let's look at an example straight. So completely, normally this tells you need to do something. That means you will have to do step by step. There's probably a step that you have to do, and then don't forget after that step there's still something you need to do. Because you can see that a cube, yeah, the power is not even. A to the 5th power is not even, 50 is not even a square number, and 80 is not, but b square is there. So take out a common factor, and a common factor here is 2a cubed. 2 goes into 8 and 2 goes into 50. In fact, 2 goes into 8 4 times and 2 goes into 50 25 times. And a cubed, take out the one always with the smaller power, is going to leave you with this a square here. So can you see that this part can still be factorized by using the difference of 2 squares? So the way I did it there is the 4b becomes 2b all squared. The 25a squared becomes 5a all squared. So 2b minus 5a comes in its own bracket, and 2b plus 5a in its own bracket with that 2a cubed that is outside. Now you have factorized this completely. Another one, so common factor here is 2. 2 goes in 18 9 times, 2 goes in 98 49 times. Okay, you have got your y squared and x squared. 9 is a square number, y squared. 49 is a square number, x squared. So you can apply difference of 2 squares. 9 is 3 squared, 49 is 7 squared. Okay, and now I'm going to take 3y minus 7x in its own bracket, and the other one is going to be the conjugate of that one just with a plus. And that is the answer to that question. All right, so you've got 18x cubed minus 8xy to the 4th power. As you can just have a look at that, you realize, no, this is not the difference of 2 squares. So you have to take out something that is common. And 2x is common. 2 goes in 18, 2 goes in 8. Then x is the smaller one I can take out. It's going to leave me with 9x squared minus 4y to the 4th power. 9 is a square number, 4 is a square number. Difference is there. X squared, y to the 4th power. Definitely you can split that. Y to the 4th is y squared squared, and 4 is 2 squared, and 9 is 3 squared. So 3x minus 2y squared and 3x plus 2y squared. Obviously with the 2x outside. Maybe you can pause the video and try to do this one. I hope you figured out the common factor is 3p. And what you have is 16p squared minus 25q to the 4th. And 16 is a power, this is a square of 4. And 25 is 5 squared. And I split the q to the power 4, can you see that? And now from here you have 3p, and then 4p minus 5q squared, and 4p plus 5q squared. So let's bring in another one. 5ab to the power 4 is a common factor. That leaves me with 4b squared minus 9a squared b squared. Well, if you take out the squares, you should get something like 2b squared minus 3ab whole squared. And this should be your final answer. Right, so this one here, again, you should realize that a half is a common factor. A half goes in a half once, a half goes in 2 4 times. Let me just show you that. If you take negative 2 divided by half, you get negative 4. And a half divided by half is going to leave you with that. So if you take out a half as a common factor, guess what you're left with? X squared minus 4. This x squared minus 4 is the difference of 2 squared. X minus 2, x plus 2. Yes? And that is how you factorize that particular question. Question 2. So we're going to do a little bit ones that have got some more terms in them. Don't be afraid. So you've got x plus y. So that remains one number. Whatever that is, if you square, it's going to be a square number. And 9 is a square, z square is there, and there's obviously a minus. So difference of 2 squares can be used. See that 9 is 3 squared, z squared. And everything inside the brackets, you write it once. X plus y, keep it in bracket, minus 3z, and x plus y plus 3z. Your work there is done. Maybe you should attempt to do this following. I hope that is your first step. 16 is 4 squared. 25, 5c, and I split that 4, c squared squared. And then I've got 4, a minus b, drop those squares now. The ones outside, but there's one inside still remain. So one bracket will have a minus, one bracket will have a positive. So let's bring in one more, or a few more, in fact. So you can pause and try to do them. 169, remember, is 13 times 13. And also 5 square is 25. M square squared. So you see what I did with the M? I split it. And N obviously had its own square that's there. And now I just do everything, drop the squares outside, and one bracket will be positive and one will be negative. D, you have got 36. A plus B all squared minus 64. C minus D all squared. Maybe you have done it. And see whether you get to the same answer as mine. You can pause the video. Right, so I got 2 more on this particular slide. So I have 6x squared minus 5y squared and all squared. So this whole thing represents some number. And minus so x squared, y squared. So difference of 2 squared, you drop those squares there. That's all you do. Alright. So you have got a 6x squared minus 5y squared in brackets minus xy, and then just with another sign. You have squares here, but 6 is not a square number and 5 is not a square number, so you leave it like that. F, pause the video again and try to do that. Remember 81 is 9 square. Well, you should get to this answer here. Well, I should leave you with 9. And I have the a square minus b square inside here. I've indicated with blue because they can still be factorized. Can you see that? And here as well. And that's how you do that particular case. So the first one with a minus and the other one for positive. Okay, let's look at a few more questions. So you have what 2k cubed minus 3k squared minus 2k plus 3. So Again, you factor, you take out the common factor between these two terms is k squared, and then you have 2k minus 3, and a common factor here is obviously minus 1. Minus 1, you're going to get 2k minus 3. I hope you can still remember from grouping. So you get k squared minus 1, 2k minus 3. But here's the problem. The k squared minus 1 here is the difference of two squares. K minus 1, k plus 1. And then you bring down the other one as it is. Try this one. Do them in pairs. Did you figure out 9y squared is common here? And minus 4 is common? Take out a negative, it changes the signs. Y plus 4 is common. But 9y squared minus 4, here you can still factorize because 9 is a square number, y squared, and 4 is a square number. 3y minus 2, 3y plus 2, and y plus 4. Last one, this stuff, squared minus 25, which is 5 squared. You should get this particular answer. Right, so I tried to give you a sort of space for you to work, pause the video and try to work out those questions. So I hope that it has been a bit helpful for you as well.